everyone, it's Jean from Inky Owl Studio. I am going to be starting my grungy Christmas journal, and I am going to be using this photograph. I love this one. I used it last year, and it is just such a sweet, sweet photograph. That's going to be on the front, and I've got some ticking here, and this ticking is the real deal. It's a vintage ticking, and you can see where it has been folded. At one time there was a hem, and so part of it is more faded than the other part, but I think by the time I've tea stained and coffee dyed it, it's kind of blends in. Plus this crease here won't really be seen once you start putting lace on it, maybe a little in the back, but I think it'll be just fine. So I've hand torn a piece, and this is 14 inches by 9, because I eventually want to take just a regular 8.5 by 11 paper and fold it over, and then there's a couple inches here for a spine. So what I essentially did was I just took my fabric, I folded it in half, and I laid down my paper, put an edge on it, and then I added 1 inch here, which would be in the end 2 inches, and just a little bit over all the way around. And that's how I determined my size by my paper. I might have made it a little wider than I needed, but it'll be just easy to cut off and re-sew it if I need to on the edge. So I've made the lining of a muslin, just a regular muslin, and so this ticking is kind of heavy. It's a medium, or I should say it's medium weight fabric, both of those together. And then for the inside, I am putting in a piece of batting. This is quilting batting is what I'm putting right here in the middle. So that will be sandwiched in between, and I will be sewing all the way around it. Before I get started though, there was a question I wanted to ask everybody, and I might ask this again in another video because I know not everybody sees, every video, but this is a question I would like you to let me know about, and that is, would you be interested in me doing a project, beginning to end, a tutorial type project, using just regular paper that anybody can purchase, not digitals, but just paper, so that you could craft along with me if you wanted to, and make the project with me. Maybe not craft along, maybe should call it something else. But something that you can make the project along with me. Would you be interested in that? Now, I would try to choose a project that was not quite beginners, but not advanced, kind of, I put a few things together level. I would like to use this particular one. I'm not sure that it's what I will use, but I love it, and I am pretty sure I will use this Temperia Forest. And it probably wouldn't be until the beginning of the year, because right now it's Christmas and we're all kind of like into that, right? So I'm just wondering if you'd be interested in me doing a project, most likely using this particular pad. I think I got it for $12 on Amazon, which is not a bad price. Now this is, the words are in Spanish, but there's only one page of that really. And I think that's why it's only $12 for the 10 pages. So it's pretty easily available on Amazon. And so just a question I'm going to put out there, and you just let me know down below if you would be interested in me doing that. And we'll go forward. Now, so after I've hand torn my pieces, but of course you could cut them if you wanted to. I want to stabilize the layers together a little bit before I go to sew them. Now, I know I've seen some people use a spray adhesive, and you certainly could do that. The spray adhesives, in my opinion, are just more difficult because I have to go outside. They're smelly and they get everywhere. They're very, very messy. So if you do that, make sure you use a box, or your whole surface will have that little stickiness all over it. So, and there's, I don't know, I'm just not using one, but you could use one. Absolutely. So I'm just going to use a glue stick. Now I'm not going to put glue on um, the batting. That'd be kind of messy, but I am going to put glue. Just going to run, and this is a regular glue stick. Just going to run it here and there, not everywhere, but just around. I'm avoiding the absolute edge because I want to sew this and I don't want my needle to get clogged. That's the other thing about the spray glues. I don't know how good they are to sew on. I'm a little hesitant to do that. So I cut the batting, as you can see, smaller. Not quite a ½ inch smaller all the way around. All right, just a little smaller. And that's the reason I did that, and you wouldn't have to, but I did that because when I cut it, when I get done, I don't want to see this part necessarily sticking out. So that's why I've cut it just a little bit smaller. And batting can stretch a little bit sometimes, so I think I went ahead and laid the batting down and just, cut around the edges there. And now I'm going to put a little bit more glue on here. So this just tacks it down just enough to where it won't creep too badly. I still like to put a pin in there as well. Now eventually when this glue does dry, you would be able to sew over it if you wanted to do more sewing on top of here. And then we'll just put it on the top. Like that. Yay! Okay. Alrighty. Got that on there nicely. And yeah, I tea stained this. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I did tea stain and coffee stained it actually. I tea stained it first and it was not really taking the dye that well, so I went back in, and what I did is I got my coffee. Oops, that's not the one. I got coffee, made it really, a lot of coffee in a small little bit, and I used instant coffee, and then I put in some alcohol. Just, I don't know, maybe in something like this, maybe a teaspoon of alcohol. And the alcohol preserves it, but it also, I think, helps make it dry faster when you're done. So that's what I did, and then I kind of went over it with that there. So what was the proportions? Well, okay, so I think I took like a cup of boiling water and put in a couple tablespoons of instant coffee. And of course, you may want to experiment to how much coffee you want to put in there, but that's about what it was. The normal drinking is like a teaspoon. Well, I put in a couple tablespoons to make it really dark. So, and then about maybe a teaspoon of or ½ a teaspoon even would be enough in a cup of water like that of alcohol. So I'm going to sew around, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to sew this evenly. I'm going to sew it kind of like this. So instead of a straight line, and I'm doing this because this, even though I hand torn it, it isn't like a perfect rectangle. So, and that's okay because this is, it's grungy, it's a little primitive, it's not going to be real neat, it's going to be a little tattered. So that's why I'm going to go and I'm going to just do one around once, and I'm going to come back again and do another one and see how I like that. And I might even do a third where I'm doing wavy lines and they're not going to follow each other. They're going to kind of be all over. So that's how I'm going to sew the edges together. I'm going to use a thread that matches. I'm going to use a off-white thread, and go from there. So let me get that done. I almost forgot, and I do this so often, I'm so sorry, but you got to put the ties in now if you want to do a closure there, this type of a closure. So I just pinned in my seam binding, my crinkled seam binding. I just pinned it in to make sure that when I sew it, it's already sewed in and I don't have to worry about how I'm going to close it. So if you want this type of closure, then now's the time to put it in. I'll be right back. So I have sewn around it, and you can see the stitching, how it's not even all the way around, but I think I did this 3 times all the way around. Got my little ties in there, and it's definitely a soft cover. And what I think eventually I'm going to be doing is grabbing, picking out a doily, and I don't know if it'll be this one, but picking out a doily and putting that somewhere on the cover, and then of course my photo, which I've stitched around too. I might though make a smaller, just a slightly smaller photo than what I have here, maybe just a little smaller. But I'm not going to work on the cover until I get the insides pretty much done, because I don't know how it's going to look filled up and everything. So I will do that later. Now I'm just going to give you a really quick look at what I've chosen so far to put inside. And so I've got a variety of tea stain papers here, different colors and amounts of tea staining and such as that. I have a couple of ledger papers and this brown paper. What I did with them is I tore the edges off, because I want it to be grungy, but it's always like, how grungy, right? How far do I go? So I went ahead and tore the sides out, and when I did, of course, you've got sort of like some of this white. So I went and inked around all the pages, all the way around, all 4 sides, just to kind of highlight that torn bit there. And I have these papers here. These they're digital papers, but they're like in a heavy scrapbook paper. So I don't know exactly how and where I'm going to be using this. This is pretty in your face. I don't know if I like that. But anyways, I got these papers. I pulled a little bit of tracing paper, and then I pulled out some fabrics that I'm going to put like in snippets and such as that throughout the journal. So they're kind of old looking. They're not vintage, of course, but they're just sort of traditional old looking colors and patterns. I have gotten these words. I like these. These are definition little words here. I got these from well, I'll have a list down below. I think it's Attic something. Okay, I'll put that down below. Forgot. And then I have some words that I'll be using, and these words come from Sunday Fable. And so I've got those cut out and ready to go. And of course, throughout the journal, then I am going to be putting in old-time photographs. I have a few angel ones left over. Just a few of these. I may have to print this one over again. Sometimes if I don't put it on the highest setting it can go, the prints don't come out so great. But these are just a few of the prints, and I've resized them a little bit, different sizes. And then a couple of Tim Holtz kind of winter themed card whatever they call them, cards or whatever. And let's see. And then of course I have a variety of ephemera bases that I've tea stained. CD, envelope, doily, window envelopes, and a couple of this crinkle paper, which is kind of fun to put into grungy journals. So that is sort of like a little quick sneak peek of what I'm going to be doing and using. And then the next time we get together, I think I'll put together a few pieces of ephemera. I'm going to try a new idea using junk mail envelopes. I think it looked like really fun, and I'm going to give it a try. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. So please subscribe. We'll talk to you later. Bye.